Yeah.
Awesome. Okay.
Ready?
Yep. Let's go. Let's laugh. We are imperfect after all.
Okay.
Hello and welcome to the Imperfect Us podcast.
I'm Leanne Camilleri.
And I'm Lisa Downs. As hosts of the Imperfect Us podcast, we share relatable stories that celebrate we are all perfectly imperfect humans, leading perfectly imperfect lives. We discover practical and evidence-based strategies that draw on the science of wellbeing and positive psychology that help us to uncover the barriers that might hold us back from being our authentic selves and turn them into opportunities so that we can show up more consistently, doing what we really aspire to do and who we want to be.
We acknowledge the Wadawurrung and the Kaurna people as traditional custodians of the beautiful lands on which this podcast is being recorded. We pay our respects to elders past, present and emerging, and extend this respect to other First Nations people who are here with us today. So, let's get started.
Today we're speaking with Glynn, a leading expert in sustainable high performance, impactful leadership and thriving workplace cultures. Anna helps ambitious leaders and teams achieve exceptional results in high-pressure environments without burnout, overwhelm or inconsistency by building stronger foundations for long-term success. With 15 years' experience across industries, a master's in applied positive psychology and a background leading national sales teams, Anna blends cutting-edge research, real-world business experience and practical results-driven strategies to drive meaningful and lasting impact. Anna is the author of Strong: How the Best Sales Leaders Engage, Achieve and Thrive, which explores the intersection of resilience, engagement, well-being and high performance. We're really looking forward to learning from Anna today, so let's dive on in. Anna, thanks so much for joining us today. We'd really love to hear about what inspired you to do the work that you do.
Great question to begin. And I guess I always go back to trying to work out, what was that moment or that thought that I had, which ended up basically changing my whole career trajectory many, many years ago. And to take you back, I spent a decade working in financial services at one of our big banks here in Australia. And at the time, what I was noticing is that there were lots of, I guess, what you would say, high performers around me, but that performance seemed to be coming at a bit of a cost. So what I noticed is that these people might have been delivering the results they needed to, so our KPIs, but they were disengaged or they were burning out, or even at its worst, they were leaving the organization together entirely. So I guess that really encouraged me to start thinking and I guess challenging some of those assumptions. Is it possible to deliver the results that we want, but still be in a team or certainly ourselves, be able to thrive at the same time? And so that's very much inspired me still to today, where my mission is all about how do we help leaders and teams, yes, achieve those KPIs that they're after, but making sure that they are thriving at the same time. And that's really the bulk of what I do still to this day with leaders and teams.
That's so important. And I know that there are many people who do have that need and desire to really perform at a high level, but at the cost of their own well-being. And it is really, really important that people understand that there is a different way as well. Yeah. But what first sparked you, Anna, in your passion for reimagining how we work? And was there a single aha moment when you realised that AI could actually be a catalyst to that vision?
I guess what I started to notice over the last little while in the conversations that I was having with people is that firstly, there's a lot of fear around AI, and we know that's normal because it's something that's there, but it's still very unfamiliar and uncertain for people. People kind of don't know what the future looks like. And when I say people, I mean, even the leading experts don't know what the future holds. This thing is changing every minute of every day. All we know, or we can be guaranteed, is that where AI is today is, or we know by tomorrow it's going to be much better. But what I was noticing is that through this fear, people were very much focused on the risks. They were also concerned about the changes in their jobs, which again is very valid. But we were missing this important part of the conversation, which I don't know, I'm maybe the forever optimist, but I'm always looking for, well, what's the opportunity here? So what could be the benefits? And what I know from my work with leaders and teams is that people are struggling to meet the demands on them. And often their biggest complaint is, I don't have the resources to do what's expected of me. And those resources, whether that's people or time or budgets, keep continuing to decrease. So I started to think about, well, hang on, here is this tool, let's, call it AI, that could be considered another resource that we have to do our jobs to meet those demands. We know that there are productivity gains that come from AI. So that's a big tick, but we need to use it well. And so there is a big concern for me around how people are going to use it. It can't be just for more work, because unfortunately that's just going to create more of a burnout problem than we're already facing. But I started to think about, well, is there an opportunity to use AI to create that capacity, but allow that extra space for us to do the more meaningful, the more human work, because that's the stuff that AI can't do. So there is absolutely always going to be things that AI does better than that. And my hope that's the really boring, mundane stuff that we can hand off to it. But we need to be thinking about, what do we do with what's left? So that space that it creates for us should be about all the meaningful work, which is around the human stuff, the connection piece, the problem solving, the creativity. And that, hopefully, if we're doing more of that, my hypothesis is that should create more engaging, more fulfilling roles for us, which hopefully is also going to reduce burnout and hopefully grow well-being for us all.
It's kind of like clearing space to be more productive. Would that be a fair assumption?
It is, but the question I'm asking people, because at the moment what we're seeing, perhaps best case, is half a day saved from the efficiency gains. But when I ask the question, well, what are you doing with that time? Not a lot of people can answer me. They don't know where it goes. And so the big fear is, again, it can't just be for more work. We can't just be adding more. We need to actually be a bit more strategic about, what does that space create for us? How are we measuring it? So are we asking our teams to actually capture how much time they've saved, but also what they're doing with it? Because if they're using it intentionally, whether that's for wellbeing initiatives, for learning initiatives, for connection activities, the hope is that over time we're going to see the impact of that on our bottom lines as well. But if we don't do it well, unfortunately, it's probably going to undo a whole lot of the good work you and I and all of us have been doing in this space.
Yeah.
Meaning is so important, that humanness. There's so much. IA has an incredible amount of opportunity there, but how do we use it that's going to best serve others? I guess that's probably the other question of, how do we do that, and how does that help elevate our strengths?
And it will, Lisa, like, again, I'm a firm believer that there is absolutely things that it will do better than us, and we shouldn't try and compete with that, right? Let again, playing to strengths, let AI play to its strengths, and let us focus on our strengths, which as humans is all of those amazing skills that we have, like connecting with others, the empathy, the emotional awareness, the leadership skills, the thinking skills, the problem solving, the creativity skills. Like, we know AI can't do those things as best as us. So I actually see it not replacing those things. It's actually shining a light on those human skills that we come with, as long as, again, we focus on those and we actually start leveraging them more so they grow and continue to shine.
Anna, you talk about the AI confidence curve in your research, and we're curious to understand what tends to hold people back from moving forward confidently with AI, and how we might support those mindset shifts to move forward.
Yes, so again, through those conversations that I've been having, I started to realize that people were at very different ends of the spectrum, if you will, around how they actually think about AI. So at one end, you kind of have people who see it as that threat. And so it's almost deemed as like their foe. And then at the other end of the spectrum, we have people who are very familiar with the tool. It's something they're using every day, but it's almost become a strategic partner for them. So it's almost like it's their additional resource. It's another member of their team. It's their sparring partner. It's their mentor. It's their coach, whatever you will. What I noticed is depending on where people sit across that spectrum or that curve, then obviously has a direct impact on the results that they're getting from us. So something that I've been supporting groups with is how do we shift our people's thinking around AI so it builds their confidence, and then obviously we get those outcomes that we're looking for.
Yeah.
I think in Australia at the moment, what we know is that a lot of studies are highlighting to us that we are incredibly fearful of this tool or tools. Australians believe that AI is much more riskier, or the risks outweigh the benefits. This is much more prevalent in Australia compared to the rest of the world, including some of those emerging economies who have very much adopted AI. So we are quite behind the 8 ball when it comes to that. And I think it's driven by that fear of being replaced. But the fear at the moment then is that we're falling behind as well. So what we need to support our people with is firstly changing that mindset around what AI is and what it can do, and moving away from that risk focus to that opportunity focus, because that gets people to start to actually want to embrace it, see what the benefits are, and hopefully build up that skill set so they realize that it's something actually that can support them, not replace them. So that's very much one of the key priorities of leaders and learning and development people and HR managers that need to help support teams on that. That's why this is not just a tech transformation and it's not owned by your IT department, because what we all know about change is it's very much a people experience. So part of this transformation, absolutely, you need to be paying attention to how you support your people to move up that curve as well.
Yeah, and I can see in an organizations are so diverse with the experience and the people in it. And we can have some people are those early adopters that are perhaps already were just waiting for things to happen because they knew it was going to happen and how exciting. And then there's others that are perhaps thinking, if I use this, does that mean that my job's not here in a few months' time, 6 months' time? I can see where the fear comes in, and I definitely appreciate that knowledge is power. And I think I can see what you're saying around the confidence piece. You build their confidence for those that aren't so sure. And what a marvelous environment then or opportunity you have, because everyone's utilizing it to its best abilities, I guess.
Yeah.
And you've raised a good point there, Leanne, because what we do talk about is that environment that supports this safe experimentation with AI. We know we need to be part of those psychologically safe cultures for us to be able to experiment, to play, to test, to know that we might make mistakes with it, and that's okay because we're all just sort of learning. So a key component is how are leaders creating those environments where people can embrace the tools in that way, that it's not something we have to grasp straight away. We might make a mistake, but know that we can learn and we can grow. Also, even thinking about, we might choose the wrong tool. We might start using something and then find out tomorrow there's actually something much better as well. So very much we need to be part of those environments where we can be comfortable in that familiarity and the uncertainty. But something leaders can do is help provide that clarity or that certainty around what the AI strategy is for their people. And I think that's something that we're seeing that does help build that confidence as well, is when people know the direction the organisation is heading around their use of AI, what parts of the work it will be used for. But again, that reassurance of we're still going to need people, and this is the sort of work that we want our people to be doing.
Yeah.
Again, we are not denying the fact that roles are going to change. So again, leaders should be having very open, honest discussions with people, maybe asking them how they see their roles evolving because of this as well. Start talking to people about what parts might AI take over, what parts might they not. This is not about reducing headcount. It's hopefully an opportunity to upskill people more so into those things that AI can't replace as well.
I see the benefit in the AI strategy. I guess if workplaces haven't got them yet, I see the benefit for that psychosocial safety aspect. I think when we talk about confidence, we talk about some people having a fear around using it, fear for my job. We can see how that creates a cocktail of challenges in that space. So are you finding workplaces are having these strategies more and more, or are you learning anything in that space?
I think it's still very early days from what I'm seeing. I think most organizations are in the stage of what I call like dabbling. So people are using it, whether or not kind of the organization has come out with a policy or a process or those guardrails around it. I mean, that's the first thing. It's accessible to anyone. So perhaps go on the side of your people are already using it rather than not. So people are dabbling. Absolutely. But again, if we're talking about how we strategically use it, I don't think the majority of people are quite yet there. And that's where we do need to be thinking about sort of whole organization policies and approaches and strategies around what this looks like going forward. That's what also helps us move from potentially just the dabbling stage to transforming our workplaces. Now, that's not to say every organization will go down that path. That's, again, a choice that groups can make. They can be very comfortable just using it as a dabbling tool, helping update some of their comms or their messaging or helping them navigate some difficult conversations. But there is that opportunity to transform your organization and the value you deliver to clients. And that's, again, a choice people can make. I haven't seen too many yet sitting at that transformation stage, but they are starting to have those conversations about what that could look like.
So exciting. I had a little dabble with it I've got a bit of an interesting role for next year, and I'm a leader in that space. And so I had I guess a bit of a protocol of what I needed to do. So I popped it into AI in 2 different ways, and I was gobsmacked at how much came back. And I thought, wow, this is actually really useful to support the rest of the team in what that means, because the new term that I was bringing up with them would be very, very different and they're not sure. And then all of a sudden there was all of these extra parts that actually helped this whole process. I was like, wow, I can actually bring the humanness into that and get them to start thinking differently.
And that's where we see it best working. It's involving humans in the loop, we call it, right? So I don't think or I don't believe AI will ever be able to do our task to the exact level that we expect it, like 100% of the way. There is always going to need to have that human interaction in it. And that's also where we need to start shifting our thinking is let's not build it around artificial intelligence. Let's actually start giving it our knowledge. So it's providing back responses that are actually built around your own knowledge. So then it's not building from artificial intelligence, it's building from a knowing intelligence. And again, that's something where we need to start to move people towards. I know in the education sector, there's a lot of concern about, oh gosh, our children aren't going to be smart anymore because they're going to rely on these tools. And that's also causing a lot of fear. I know I've got friends whose children are part of schools that have completely banned it, said you are not to use it. Now, that is not going to do anything for those children who are then going to enter into a workforce that is going to expect them to know how to use AI. So it's doing a complete disservice to them. So again, the education sector from primary, secondary, university sectors need to be thinking, how do we teach our students with AI now at their fingertips? So it's going to completely, I think, revolutionize the way that we teach, but also why we go to those institutions and what skills we're expecting back as well. So there's some questions I've been asking. So it'll be interesting to see what those changes look like going forward.
Yeah. There's so many questions to have, that's for sure. But there's also, when you talk about some of the education systems that have actually sort of shut that down to say no, that's just based on fear, which really being a bit more open and being experimental to find out. And in actual fact, the kids themselves will actually be able to play more, inquire more, ask more questions, challenge things. So if you let kids go, you'll actually get more action. If you're saying no to them, then they're going to do things behind the scenes, which possibly is not as good for them. Where if you allow them to actually use their true learning and all their capabilities, all their strength, anything's possible.
Oh, and the same for adults as well, right? Like people have access to these tools, so they're going to be using them. So the expectation should be that they are being used. Now, I've been part of conversations where people are doing that fear mongering. Oh, don't go and hire someone that's used AI to write their resume. Why not? Aren't they the sort of people that you'd want in your workplace right now, the ones that know how to use it? So that's where, exactly as you said, it's that fear mindset. But what we know from our own studies is that fear just ripples, and it's that negativity bias. We focus on all those risks and fears and they just multiply. But that does us no good over the long term. We need to be thinking much more broadly and saying, yeah, AI is now the expectation. So what are the things that we need to do to amplify ourselves or stand out with those tools as well?
I guess that's the next question that I've got for you in relation to, so where there's that world where it feels like we're all in a rush to adapt to AI and the tools of AI, but how can AI help to amplify human strengths rather than ellipse them?
This is probably my favorite part because AI just sets the baseline. So we were just talking about the fact that AI is now the expectation. So we need to move into that mindset that everyone uses it. It's just commonplace. Now, we're not there yet, but the hope is that we get there somewhere. So the question then becomes, well, how do we stand out? How do we stand out from the rest? How do we compete? How do we be at our best? That is by focusing on all the things that AI can't do. So we need to start putting more emphasis on those human skills or those human strengths. Now, hopefully that is music to all of our ears, given we've all probably been trying to encourage a strengths-based approach for a very long time. And now there's another reason to, and that makes me super excited. So again, what we want to be thinking is that what can we be giving to AI that is all the hopefully boring, mundane work, which allows us to really leverage our human strengths. So these are things like the emotional intelligence, the empathy, the resilience, the critical thinking, the motivation, the leadership. Really interestingly, what I loved is all of those things that AI can't do, maybe it's not a surprise, are the skills that the World Economic Forum have said are most critical by 2030. So in the past, we would have been in conversations where people say, oh, don't worry about them. They're the soft stuff. They're the touchy-feely things, not required. Now, people in our circles know that's absolutely not the case. We know the power of them. But now there's sort of no hiding from them because these are now what I'm calling your performance multipliers. You are not going to get the performance from the AI. You're going to get it from all of your human skills. But also, for those to really come to light, we need to start thinking now about how are we developing them? Are they part of your L&D strategy? You know, what's on there from a skills development perspective? Who are you recruiting for? So what are the skills you're looking for in future talent if this is what we know is needed by 2030? But also, what are you rewarding? So again, in the past, we have rewarded more of those technical capabilities and maybe not so much the soft stuff, but how are we rewarding what we know is valuable going forward? Because these are the things that your clients or customers, whatever they look like, are expecting from you. They're also what talent knows they need. And also potentially your competitors are going to be focused on them. So they're going to suddenly grow faster than you. So again, I think this does require a big shift across the system and employee experiences to really highlight the value of these human strengths.
Yeah.
I don't know if this is putting you on the spot, Anna. Can you give an example what that might look like? I've got an idea in my head, perhaps with presenting or something like that. You might get some help from AI to create that presentation, but the human part of it is you actually delivering it. Is that kind of on par with what you're describing here, or would you put it a different way?
No, that's exactly what I say, Leanne. And one of my favorite little quotes at the moment, which AI probably helped me come up with, to be honest. But it's around, and I think that one really rings true. So there is going to be, part of our roles and our preparation that AI is going to support us with, but only we can do the real important stuff. So that's why I love that. I think that kind of encapsulates what we're trying to say here. So if we think about it in our context, things like putting together our proposals, as an example, a lot of that can be automated, but us actually delivering to a client is going to require the human element, because we're going to have to pick up things like the emotional cues in a room that AI won't see. We're going to have to sense hesitation in people's voices or changes in energy that we know we can feel. So they're the sort of things that the humans do it best that are actually going to help us deliver in our role that AI won't be able to do. So there's going to be all these time saves around the administration components or lesson planning, Lisa, file notes, Leanne, that you probably have to do, all these sorts of things that we do in the background that hopefully can be automated, which again helps get us part of the way there. But the value that we deliver is all those things that require that human touch, which are some of those examples that I gave.
And doing it together, that's what I've noticed with some of the things that we've been needing to do, is that you can generate all of these things that go, right, here's what this is about, but how do we give you the professional learning that we can do together so that it becomes a shared experience and it grows? That's the humanness that's in it. Yeah.
Absolutely.
Anna, you suggested there are 3 essential capabilities for teams to thrive with AI. And would really love you to explain, if you can, what these are and what each of these might look like in practice.
Absolutely. So thriving alongside AI, but I think also just thriving in general probably comes down to these 3. These will be familiar to all of us, I'm sure, but the first absolutely is that mindset piece. And we know that the way that we think impacts the actions that we take and the way that we feel. So particularly when it comes to something that's going to cause change and disruption, the best approach is having that growth mindset approach. So how can we look at something and maybe realize that we might need some learning and development to support us to be able to work alongside it? But that's very much embracing that idea that we don't know everything yet. So the encouragement is absolutely be curious, embrace the learnings, be willing to try, know that you're going to fail, but know our only opportunities to move you forward. So mindset absolutely is critical here, as we spoke about earlier, to build that confidence and curiosity. The second piece, which we've been talking about, is the skill set. So what are these skills that we now need to focus on as humans to make sure that we are not going to be replaced by AI? And this is all those human strengths. So we've spoken about them again and again, but the creativity, the communication, the relationship building, the thinking skills, these are so critical going forward. So how do we make sure that we are absolutely focused on those, we're developing those, and we're rewarding those as well, as we said? In addition to that, I don't want to neglect the fact that we need to build AI and digital literacy as well. So that's obviously a skill that we need going forward, is actually how do we use these AI tools? And then the third element is the tool set that we need to thrive. And for me, I've always thought of tools for all of us around our strengths. What are the things that come within us? What are those resources that we can use to help us navigate our challenges, but also be at our best at the same time? I also see our tools with things like our relationships with one another. So how do we leverage those during these challenging times? But also we know how important they are to help us be at our best as well. How do we think about our energy and our well-being, which again are those tools that actually help us feel good and function well when it's needed? So they're kind of those three capabilities that I certainly have always seen as pillars of what we need to be at our best. But even still in these days, whilst we're navigating this transformation and this change, these are also fundamentals as well. So I think the tech is kind of like half of the equation going forward. The competitive edge that we get is when we actually focus on the mindset, the tool set, and the skill set that's needed.
I think all of the three capabilities, mindset, skill set, and the tool set to thrive, really, really important. And they go together. And I think that in some respects that they'll move across with each other, and having the three together would probably be the ultimate one. So thank you for sharing that one. So Anna, drawing on a psychological safe lens, what's one way that AI could help curb burnout rather than fuel it?
Well, I think what's really interesting, and I've been asking these questions, is why is AI not already considered a psychosocial hazard, given the stress and the anxiety it is causing a lot of people? So I've asked that question. I haven't yet got a response to that. I think that's really interesting. It hasn't actually been called out as a particular element to be aware of, given what we know is happening with people and teams and organizations right now. So similar to what we've been saying, I think there's two very different outcomes we might see over the coming years from AI. And my big concern is, and the big risk that I see here, is that AI won't help burnout. In fact, it will increase burnout for people when they use this extra capacity to just do more work. My real concern is in sectors like, let's say, the legal industry, where they have that time-based billing. So that's the way they actually charge clients, is around the time that it takes them to do things. So if all of a sudden AI is reducing the amount of time it takes to do things, the logic there would be, well, we need to do more work to then keep charging clients. But what we know about the legal industry is so many of them are already struggling and, suffering from burnout. So that's what, thinking about those sorts of industries, this almost takes them to consider how they charge going forward. And is this now finally a chance to remove time-based billing and move to value-based billing? Yeah. So it's kind of the first thing, is the fear is that capacity is used just for more work. The other extreme, the hope that I have, is that we use that extra capacity to do more of those meaningful tasks. I know through the conversations that I have that most people will tell me they don't have enough time to do all the things that they want to do. And often those proactive, well-being, learning, growth initiatives are the ones that fall to the bottom of the list, because they have to prioritize all the other work. So I guess the question is, well, if we are getting time back and we're able to do the work that we've had, is this an opportunity for us to use that capacity to have more conversations with our team, more one-on-ones, be having more coaching conversations, proactively calling our clients or our customers or our stakeholders, all those things that we say we never get time for? Is it an opportunity for us to do learning and growth activities with our teams, or even wellbeing initiatives? Or do we just give them half a day off a week? Do we now all have that opportunity to move to a 4-day week because we're getting those time savings? That is where I'm hoping, if we're doing more meaningful work, we have extra capacity and space, that's where I'm hoping that AI can actually help us reduce burnout and actually increase things like engagement and satisfaction and well-being within our workplaces.
I can't help but think we can be on two sides. We can be on one side of going down the downward spiral, if you like, and on the other side, it's like perhaps it's a moment in time where it couldn't be more exciting, because all of a sudden we're being asked, or perhaps being forced to look at things differently. And how wonderful is that?
Well, that's my hope. That's, if we do this well, I really see it as a benefit and helping achieve all those things that we've been searching for a really long time.
It's giving
Thanks
them
so
the
much.
space too, isn't it? Like the space to really think differently, not just always think, oh, the burnout, or more time, or have to do this more. In actual fact, it's time to just pause and have a think about different ways. It reminds me of, like, we've got AI, and it reminds me of appreciative inquiry. So often when I hear AI, I think AI is like having appreciative inquiry, to actually give you the time to actually do the thinking, to make better choices and better decisions, and bring that humanness in.
And we've got a few more questions we want to ask you, but I'd like to pose this to you. Imagine a team that's curious but nervous, and I want to perhaps try some things with AI, but not sure where we know what to do. What is a low risk action that you might recommend?
That's a great one. So I always encourage people just to start using the tools to find a new recipe or something like that, or help plan your next holiday. Really, really simple stuff to just get people dabbling so they get comfortable with it. They start talking to it, engaging with it. I always say to people, use your manners. Hi, how are you? Please, thank you. People think I'm crazy, but you just never know what it's remembering, right? So you want to be on the kindness side to those tools. But then from a workplace perspective, something that I suggest is start with a bit of a challenge. Like, what's something that is wasting time for your teams that you find is chewing up all this capacity, but it's really not a lot of value? Is there an opportunity to kind of run a bit of a challenge with your team around how can we best solve this? How can we use AI to solve it, and get people to just like even pair up and experiment and then come together and just share and learn what came along? I've got some really great examples of groups where they, once a week they come together over lunch and they just share how they're using it in their roles so other people can learn. Again, I think that's a great way to build that confidence and encouragement to go, you know what, some weeks I'm going to come and go, nope, that completely flopped and failed. But the next week I might have something that is actually really beneficial to share with the group. And that just encourages more people to just give it a go as well. So yeah, I think starting really low, just start dabbling and just seeing where it might take you.
And I just wonder, what's one AI shift that's changed how you work?
Oh, wow. So many. I probably can't imagine my life without it anymore. And I can't believe I'm saying that. But it really has become, my strategic partner. It challenges me to think. I ask it, what am I missing? What have I not thought about? What would skeptics say? To really try and flex my critical thinking hat as well. It does want to support and encourage you, but that's where we see it leading down to things like those hallucinations that it can provide you around maybe your own biased thinking. But that's probably something where I've built it up to the point where it's challenging me back. And that really supports me, particularly when I am running my own practice. I don't have colleagues or peers to just be asking things of. So it's really become like another member of my team. It obviously helps me a lot with work that I need to do. But the best part that I have from it is almost being like that assistant for me. Gosh, one example that I can give as well is, given we have all been students, the ability for it to do referencing now, when that probably used to take us days to do a reference list, and it does it in seconds. My goodness, that is a prime example of how you spend 2 days correcting full stops and commas and et als and years and publication dates that it'll do in seconds. But that frees you up to do more of the research and the thinking time. So that's pretty incredible from the academic perspective.
Yeah.
It's
Might mean another paper you could have read.
Exactly.
Oh, that's lovely.
Yeah, that's so interesting. Anna, do you have a name for your AI? Because like you, I consider AI as one of my team members. She has a name. Her name is Clara. I even have a picture that I could share with you.
Oh, I'd love to see that. You know what? I should ask mine what their name is. How rude of me. I've never asked.
Yes.
I
Yeah.
probably just call it like BF, best friend at this point.
For those who are curious to learn more in this space, is there a book, TED Talk, podcast, a resource of some kind that you might point them towards?
So the first book that I found that really talks to this point is called Human and Machine: Reimagining Work in the Age of AI. And this is by Doherty and Wilson. This is probably the first one that's very much got very similar views and thinking to me. What I can say is I think most days I see a new book about AI coming out. So it's not already there. It's going to be pretty soon. But I particularly like, that way of thinking as well. There are some TED Talks around as well about human skills. In addition, of course, we've spoken about, I've got this white paper as well, which speaks to some of these concepts that we've been talking about as well. So for anyone that is interested, I would say reach out to both of you, and I'd be more than happy to share that paper on as well.
Beautiful. Thank
so
you.
much.
Thank you so much for sharing that too, because I think there's a lot of people who would love to read those rather than hear it from someone else's perspective. So that research base is really important. If people really want to connect with you, what's the best way for them to find you?
The best place is probably my website, which is annaglynn.com.au. Here, you've got lots of information about the type of work I do, but I've got lots of my blog writings there, all the articles and podcast episodes that I'm featured on. But also I have some surveys that people can take, which can start to explore some of these skill set, mindset, tool set pieces we've been talking about, and where they might have areas of strength or where there might be some areas to work on as well. So definitely a good first place to go. But also I regularly share a lot of my ideas on LinkedIn. So you can just search Anna Glynn there and hopefully you'll find me.
And we'll be sure to share the links to your website and your LinkedIn in our show notes. So thank you so much. Thank you so much for the time that you've spent with us.
My pleasure. What could be better than having a conversation with two friends on a Friday afternoon? This has been excellent.
Well, it's been really amazing. The information that you've shared today has really added to my, I guess, curiosity and wonder of what's next.
That's the hope.
Yeah. Thank you so much, Anna.
Oh, what
Yeah.
an interesting conversation.
Do you have a standout for you to start us up?
One of the things that stood out for me it was the perspective that Anna had. Perhaps instead of using it or thinking of it as a artificial intelligence, using it as a knowing intelligence, and also that AI sets the stage, but we deliver it. And I think that was
You deliver the performance. That's the exciting. It brings that humanness in. Yeah.
What about you?
Well, I guess pretty much the having the AI and using the AI to take away some of the work that is giving people too much work. Does that make sense? Rather than just that more compliance stuff or whatever, or something that's going to help them to be able to do their job better in a different way, but not give them more burnout or more time and more things to do. How do we eliminate that? And I love what she talked about, saying that she uses a mindset of a strategic partner in AI.
I think also when we think about the elements of psychosocial risk in workplaces and burnout and all those things, I appreciated what Anna said about that around thinking, incorporating AI into that psychosocial risk factor. I think I hadn't thought about that before, and I think I appreciate that and can see why that's important. But never has there been a time to think more differently in the world right now.
Yeah. And I guess that's the three capabilities that she was talking about with mindset, having the skill set, but having that human strength, your human strengths that are going to be there. We don't
Yes.
want to just rely on AI to do the work that's actually not about the humanness. And how do we and build more confidence in the human strengths to be able to bring those capabilities that are going to enable an organization or a business or even just a person at the same time how to thrive more in what they're doing, but using AI to support it, but using the things like empathy, connection, relationships, all of those things is what is about humans and how we work in our teams. So we can't just rely on AI for one particular thing. It can inform and support us, but the human strengths are really, really vital still.
Yeah, absolutely. Oh, what an interesting conversation.
So good, and I can't wait to find out a little bit more. I tell you what I also liked is about the AI being the performance multipliers. I love that. I'm curious to find out a little bit more about that.
Yeah, me too. All right. Well,
Thanks, mate. Have a
been
great
so
day. What
great.
a wonderful conversation.
Yeah.
Thanks,
See you
Glynn.
soon. Okay. Bye.
Bye.
Thank you for listening to the Imperfect Us podcast. As always, we are extremely grateful to our executive producer, Brenton Ainsworth, for helping us to put this episode together. If you've enjoyed this podcast, please share it with someone you care about, and we would be grateful if you could rate this podcast on iTunes. To continue the conversation and see what we're up to, you can connect with us on LinkedIn. Just search for Imperfect Us. Bye for now.